Hey everyone, we're back on part 2, talking about manifesting, law of attraction, all of this good stuff, creating your own reality, being a deliberate creator instead of sitting by the wayside, feeling like a victim, feeling like things just happen. This is the magic that we've been talking about in part 1, and we're going to talk in part 2, give some more examples, but also how do you start with this? Like, yes, we talked about that it starts with your thoughts, monitoring your thoughts, turning those around, thinking a little bit more positively, affirmations. Anyone can go online and look at all of that. But I would say that one of the things that have helped me, and I know it helps you, Tara, so many law of attraction experts have said writing it down matters. Writing it down imprints the subconscious. So Definitely. I am a believer in lists Definitely. Of things. And when usually what you would do here, and there's so many ways, we'll talk about vision boards, we'll talk about little meditations, we'll talk about the feelingizations as well, that Ariel Ford calls them, which I like because they're like meditations, but they're feelingizations, right, about a thing you want. But let's just start there and see what thoughts maybe you have on that.
Yeah. So I'll tell you right now on my mirror, I'm in my room, my bedroom right now, and I have this little office area, and over on my dresser, there is a paper right there. And it says on January 21st, 2021, I have my goals all very clearly written out. And I put them there like that because I want my kids to see them. I want them to know how I do this stuff. And I want them to see how I evolve and transition and go along the way. So the first thing is one with writing things down. I remember when I had this moment, I was like, okay, how many times are you going to have to listen to every single successful person that you admire talk about the importance of written goals before you're actually going to take 5 minutes out of your super busy day to actually write them down, And there was a Harvard study. They actually did a research study on, I think it was like in the 1980s, maybe late 70s. They had the MBA Harvard graduates. They asked them how many of them had their goals written down, and it was only 3% of them had actually written down their goals and how they were going to achieve them. That 3% ended up making, on average, 10 times what all the other graduates made combined.
Which means that Harvard degree ain't equal. It's what you're going to do with it. Yeah.
It's the clarity. And there was a power in writing it down, because you know what? This is why I do this with my clients, because you will stop when it gets hard. When you just are in your head and you're like, I want $1 million. Okay, cool. How are you going to do that? I don't know. You just stop. And when you're writing, you don't get to do that. You actually have to put something concrete, which causes your brain to, slow down. I'm a big fan of actually writing with your hands because it makes you go slow. Sometimes it drives me crazy because I do my personal development work handwritten in the morning, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much slower than typing. But it's beautiful because it slows your brain down so you can actually think, process, and, I say brainwash. I like to call it brainwashing.
Yeah, it's a positive brainwashing.
With those thoughts. Now, as far as writing things down goes, one thing that I do with my clients, I am shocked. I would say pretty much every single person that works with me doesn't know what they want. Not a single person has clarity on what they actually want. And I'm like, what is your goal here? What do you want? I just want to get in shape. Okay. If that's that we got to get more clear than that. That's not a goal, and that has zero clarity, and that's why you haven't gotten here before. Okay. So what do you actually want? Give me something concrete and specific. Well, I've never had ab definition at all. I would really like to see some of that. Okay, cool. Now we got something we can visualize. Now we have something concrete. The next thing that is super powerful is why. Okay, so we've got the what. Let's say you want ab definition. Cool. Even a hint of it, just a little something. Okay, you know what you want. Why do you want that? That is so important. That's where so much of the magic is. And that's where you may end up changing a little bit what you want.
That's right. And because my answer could be, well, you know what? I want them because I want to be in a competition where I get judged and win. Or you know what? I just want to look in the mirror in a bikini and feel like a badass. Or you know what? I don't know. I just feel so powerful. I feel like a powerful human being when I'm strong and my core is strong. It helps my back. You could have a million different reasons for wanting the abs.
Yeah, and that's when you get into the feeling. There has to be some sort of emotional attachment to what you're doing. So that's that why is when we get into the feeling. You may have an unhealthy reason for where you want to go.
Because I want to make Sandy jealous, right?
Exactly.
That's not a good
my ex-husband was such a jerk to me about this, and he always like
ripped on my ass.
Like, freaking show him, like whatever. I don't always turn people away when they have negative motivation. I'm like, okay, just know that you're probably still going to have those emotions when you get there. So that's going to be something that needs to get worked on along the way, but that's all right. That's why. Now, the next thing is when. Oh my gosh, people say, I hate deadlines. I'm like, well, that's why you haven't done it. Right. So now we just talked in our last episode about divine timing. There's, of course, you have to be open to timing, right? If you try to force everything, sure, sometimes but you will know. You'll know
because your deadline's approaching, and if things don't feel right, you're not going to push it, and you'll go, okay, timing's not right on that. Maybe it'll happen next week, 2 weeks from now, or next year. Doesn't mean you lose the belief.
Exactly. And look how much further you got, right? Like I made 6 figures in my first year of business because I was trying to hit 7, right? So I didn't make my goal, but I sure as hell did a lot better than I probably would have otherwise because I was in a hurry. I had big vision. I knew exactly what I wanted, why I wanted it, and when I was going to get it. Of course, I had to adjust that date, but it made me perform to a higher level. I love Ed Milet talks about this. He's like, be in a freaking hurry. I'm like, yes, thank you, God. Be in a freaking hurry. Like
the universe likes speed. By the way, it actually really does. Like things come so, like, I told you about the prize I got in 24 hours. Things can come so quickly. Yeah. The trick is that they usually come quicker when you have like zero resistance to it. It's a throwaway thought. You don't have like, I need this thing. I need this. That is like such like it has to happen. And that it has to happen is not having faith that it will. Do you see that feeling like just from my vibe of how I said that? So it's usually things that are like, yeah, you know what? Done. All right, we'll see what happens. Let's see how it comes in. And then that's the stuff that'll show up quickly. So this stuff can happen quickly. We've had 24-hour manifestation experiences. I've had them 5 minutes later too, and I'll talk about that later.
Amazing. Yeah. So I think, my friend William Schufel, I don't know if you've interviewed him
we know.
on Primal Blueprint.
Well, he wrote a cooking carnivore cool dudes with Brad. Yeah.
And he was on my podcast. Guys, you got to listen to that. William Schufel on Inside Out Health podcast. And he's just a wonderful kid. And I'm like, man, he is going places. He is definitely living the law of attraction lifestyle big time.
Yeah.
And his story was basically, he was this poor college kid living off like $8 a week or something, living on a cot on the floor. And he got this dream that he was going to be on TV and be on the Comic-Con stage. And it's kind of like, yeah, right, dude. Like you have zero connections in the industry. You have no background in acting at all. Like you're just this poor kid. He's like, no, I know. Like, I just know this is happening. And sure enough, now he's like on the Power Ranger series. I think he's got another show coming up. And one thing that I love that he said on this like action part of things is he's like, I knew that was happening, but I didn't know exactly how. I just knew that I needed to do my best at everything I was doing and to keep myself open to that energy. And I would recognize it when it came. So he's like, I was an economics student in college and I just put everything I had into that. And I love this analogy. I talk about this all the time to my friends because I'm like, yes. He's like, I imagine it like I'm running and I'm in motion. And that way the universe can just gently guide me that way because I'm already in motion. I'm already trying. I'm already working. I'm already doing. When you're standing still, the universe can nudge you and you just still stay still because you're not moving. So it's much easier for the universe to push us longer when we're trying, when we're doing our part, when we're doing our best. It doesn't mean we're going to know exactly how to do it, but we understand where we're going, why we're going there, and when we're trying to get there. That is very, very helpful because we are lazy. We are procrastinators, and we will just be like, I'm going to write a book, like next 2 years sometime, It's like, be open to the energy, but also put a deadline to kind of get your butt lit on fire because we will tend to procrastinate. And the last thing I'll say is how, right? So we have what, we have why, we have when, and we have how.
Can I highlight William Schofel? I want to highlight something about that experience. He had none of the things that people say you have to get the series regular job as a part. By the way, I went out for the Pink Power Ranger as a series regular like 20 years ago as an actress. So I've like laughed when I met William at Palu FX. Cool. I was like, hey, what's up, dude? Fucking Power Ranger. But here's the thing. So anyone would have told him, right? Like, well, that's an insane thing. Like you would first need to go do A, B, and C, and D. Turns out, not at all. And it's funny because I interviewed someone recently who be on the Primal Blueprint podcast, same story, where she didn't want to necessarily be a host of a television show. Again, didn't want it so badly, was kind of open to it. Again, a throwaway, was like, I'm just open, whatever. And she got like one of the most incredible like hosting gigs. And I asked her, I'm like, did you intend it, whatever? And it was like, no, I didn't really, like, it's usually when she didn't have the training. It wasn't about like her whole trajectory was going there. So you can manifest something that seems absolutely insane for your resume, absolutely insane to reality, but people have done it. He didn't go, well, I can't do that because first I got to go to Juilliard and study this. Now I got to get an MFA in acting, or no, he was just believed it and it happened.
And it did. And he also put action in. Okay. It wasn't like some director was just like, hey, you're a cute kid. Come be on TV.
He put himself out there. Yeah.
He auditioned and auditioned and auditioned and got turned down and turned down and turned down and turned down. But he had this object of his desire. He knew that it was part of his soul's purpose. So he had full confidence it was going to happen. He just, that way, when he got turned down, he was just like, that must not have been the right door. I don't know which one's going to be the right door, but I know when the right one comes, the universe will open it for me. My job is to put in the work and try, right? So it's not like he just like sat around like, okay, law of attraction, I think for me anyway, it's this perfect balance of putting in action and trying, but also being open and receptive to what the universe is trying to tell you and show you.
And
right?
that also proves that people who are solely in action, it doesn't work out a lot of the time because it's just action. It's just stuff that like, or they'll get there and they'll be like, I didn't want to be here. And you're like, right, because you didn't think about it on the way up. But again, I agree. It's a nice complimentary thing. You have to have some type of action. No casting director is just going to show up on your doorstep. Although I'd argue that if he didn't even go out to audition, he might have gotten a call from someone that said, hey man, an actor buddy that's like, hey man, there's an audition I just heard about. And they're like, that would have been true. Like, so I feel like there are other ways it could happen, but he did. He was inspired enough to go, all right, well, I'm going to try. But he still didn't have the resume of training that is, quote, what people think is required.
Right. Okay. Let's hit on how, because I find this is another area where people's brain stops. Okay. Right. So like, all right. So what's going to happen as you go into the how? It's like, okay, let's say your goal is you want to make $1 million. Okay. Be a little cliche here. So you want to make, how are you going to make $1 million? Like, so start to get on that vibration, because as you start to think about the how, all these ideas will start to flow to you, especially if you do things like meditate and get in nature and you're ask out loud. I have learned over and over and over. I'm like, guides or whatever I'm feeling like do you need me to ask out loud and I don't know, but all I know is when I do, maybe it's the power of my own voice or the clarity that I'm expressing or whatever it is, but it comes way, 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 way quicker. So ask, because once you get into this, okay, how am I actually going to do this? That's when you're inviting inspiration to come in. Now that might change. It's probably going to change a whole bunch, but that's part of the magic of the journey, right? And it's because what happens is where you're at right now, once you're on this growth path, at least I have found as I stay hungry, as I stay open and receptive, like I start here, but I quickly get to here and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And so I have to be open to the evolution on the how, but while still keeping that end goal that the universe gave me. Like I see it. I know my purpose. I know that my purpose is to help people and myself get into our power, to see our full power. So whatever that looks like, I'm down. I'm good. Like as long as it has my purpose and my vision in the end, I'm good. I'm down. Okay, cool. Universe, you want me to go here? Oh, you want me to start teaching like personal development stuff in my coaching? Okay, cool. I can do that. So it's being clear on your intention and then asking yourselves these 4 questions I think are so powerful. Write them down. What, why, when, and how. And just say it over and over. What, why, when, and how. And it's going to evolve. But the power of writing it and the power of getting clarity is really going to help you get onto the path of that intention. I mean, most people I'll ask if you're listening to this right now, like, what do you want? Do you know something in your life that you want? If you don't, that's a fucking problem. Okay. And I'm gonna swear because life is short. Life is short. I feel like yesterday I was 21. Now I'm 37. Like, how did that freaking happen? Yeah. It went so fast. So Like when I leave here, I want to know that I left it all on the table. I want to know that I lived. Don't you want that? So if you don't know anything in your life that you want right now, that's a freaking problem. So start asking yourself, what do I want? That's a very, very powerful
and
question.
And it's also a BS answer, because there is something you want. You desire things throughout the day. You might go buy a store and go, oh, that might be nice. What, I don't care. You desire stuff. So you're just too afraid to even thinking about getting it, because you're scared that it's not possible. So you're in denial, because everybody does want something. Right. They just may not have it on the tip of their tongue because they've not given it attention.
Totally. And then why don't you think you can have it? The answer to that question is a journey that might take you years.
And you'll need to listen to our excuses, you need to listen to make excuses and blaming.
And maybe our downers podcast too. right. But why don't you think that you can have that? That's such a profound question. That was something I had to ask myself so many times along this journey. And it gets better and better. It's like sometimes I get these downloads where it's like, Tara, you don't see yourself. You don't see what's possible. You're limiting yourself. And I think that all of the time we do that to ourselves. All of the limitations that we see are self-imposed. They're self-imposed. Even if somebody else is saying like, even if like Elle was talking about in our last episode, her friend's like, I want to manifest an iPhone too. And you're like, okay, like, I don't know if everybody can manifest iPhones here. Okay.
I think that was a one-off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was like a one lucky thing, like, but even if other people in our life don't think we can do it, like it's still you. She didn't listen. I don't know. You probably were like, yeah, go for it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I didn't speak the skepticism. I kept it to myself. Yeah, I told her later. I go, I actually I downered you. In that moment, I had a downer thought about you being able to do it, as if somehow I just did it and you couldn't.
Yeah. But even if you had said like, I don't know if everybody can do it or something like that, it would still be her choice if she was going to believe that or not. Absolutely. Right. And so any limitation that we're putting on ourselves that we perceive, we're putting it on ourselves. And so I think like once you really start to practice this over and over and over, you really start to see that you don't have limits, right? And instead of seeing limits, you see wise choices. You're like, I know I can have that, but do I really want that? Once you start to see that you can have it all, it's almost like a curse in a way, because you're like, oh my gosh, like there's so many things to choose from. Like I can have this, or I could have that, or I could have this, or I could have that. So what are we funneling it in? And that, to me, that's where intuition comes in. That's where the heart comes in. That's where finding your purpose, really, really contemplating on that, really asking, really seeing, doing the principles of Ikigai is really helpful on understanding like, what am I good at? What do people need? What will people pay me for if it's a professional thing? And what I can't remember the other one right now. It's like something like, what does the world need? Look that up and really ask yourself those questions, because once you can get clarity on that, you'll see, man, like there's nothing you can't do. And the other thing I always say is like, if other people can do it, why can't you?
Yeah. Why you? Are you special? First? Why are they so lucky? There's not like, I don't, it should, yeah. Why not you? And I want to get into the how a little bit too. So I call them I'll give a perfect example of an LOA manifestation where I had no idea how it was going to happen. Again, you don't need to know how, but I think what you were mentioning in terms of writing it down is, like, for example, let's say I am sitting around, I'm like, you know what? I want to be famous. Whatever. Let's say I'm just a person who no one knows me, whatever. And I'm like, I want to be famous. Okay. It's a base goal, but let's just say I have it. Well, okay. Then one of the things you'd write down is, I need to start a YouTube channel, or I should get on social media. Those are like actionable steps, and that makes sense, and we all should do that with all of our goals. However, don't be afraid of a goal that you don't know how you're going to achieve it. That's I just want to make that distinction there. I'm going to give a perfect example. So I've been using law of attraction for a long time. This was actually just 2 years ago this happened, and I have the evidence online for anyone who wants to see it. So I live in a guest house, and I really was like, God, I don't have comfortable furniture. I need I just wanted to redo my place, but there was a part of me that's like, yeah, but I don't want to pay for it. Like, I don't want to take what I have out of what I have. So in a way, I was just putting out there please, money come from somewhere that will then make me feel better about paying for all new stuff. Right. And so I just had that out there where I was like, I really want that. I was like, yeah, but I don't want to pay for it. But I just put it out there. I was like, all right, unknown, bring me new stuff. However, I don't care if it's 15 new coaching clients or whatever. Just I was open to however this could come in. And the most random thing came in. A thing came in like almost the William Schofield, where it was like, there's no way, no how I could have ever guessed that this is how the money would come in. I kid you not, just a couple of weeks after I have this come to Jesus with myself about my place, where I'm like, I need new stuff. I do. I want it, but I don't want to pay for it. So come on, universe, bring it. I get a email from a guy I literally met for 2 dates like 15 years ago on Match. I'm surprised he even remembered me. Very nice guy, lovely. Too much age difference, and it just wasn't like that kind of chemistry. He was and still is a lifestyle photographer. He films, does all the stuff for like Elle Bean catalog, and the people in their mountain gear, and they just, he's a model, whatever, lifestyle modeling. So he contacts me out of nowhere. I haven't heard from the guy since the 2 dates in 15 years. And he's like, oh, I see you know so-and-so at Primal Kitchen. How's it done? And I'm like, oh, hey, yeah, how's it going, Tom? Nice. I always loved your photography. I think you're amazing. How are things going? Da-da. Great. All right. 2 days later, email from him again. Hey, Elle, I need a model to fly to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico for a week, to stay at this 5-star private resort where only like LeBron James is, he lives there. Like only people, like you have to, the minimum 2-bedroom crappy condo on this property is $5 million. And it's private, meaning if you own a place there, you can't rent it out. And if you're in the public, it's not like a resort where you can just get a room. So this is very exclusive 5-star private resort. He's like, we just need, they're like, do you have a boyfriend? And I was like, no, I'm not dating anyone now. I was like, great, we'll get a boyfriend for you. And if you're great, $1,000 a day, by the way.
Wow.
So,
beautiful.
Okay. So what the hell? By the way, at the time, I'm 42 years old. I'm 5'2". Does anyone in the world think I could be a model? Like, that is a joke. That is almost so, but that's almost so ridiculous. Like that's out of reality, right? If I went somewhere to a modeling agency and said, hey, they'd be like, you need to like be, right? So no one would have ever thought that for the first time in my life, I'd randomly get a modeling job out of nowhere from someone I went on a date with 15 years ago to pay for all of my new shit. So not only did I get $6,000 for that, and thank you very much, because that was the money that I wanted to use. I also, so now I'm blasted all over this Villa's website, which is hysterical, because they hired my boyfriend, who's like a very famous model. It's really hilarious, and he looks exactly like Paul Newman, and he gets hired all the time for it. And the other funny thing about that is my best friend, one of my best friends in the whole world, named his dog Paul Newman and loves Paul Newman. So when I saw this guy at the resort and saw what he looked like, I was like, oh my God, you look like, he's like, I know, Paul Newman, I get it all the time. And I was like, this is just another funny coincidence. So I'm down there, I'm getting paid to hang out in a bathing suit, chill, eat 5-star, getting sushi every night. They're comping everything. It's like the most incredible thing in the world. I'm like, who?
Ridiculous.
I'm like, of course I got a modeling job at 42 for no reason out of nowhere. Again, I didn't know how this extra money was going to come in to pay for that, but it was pretty damn quick, and it was in a way nobody could have ever guessed. I never thought that guy would even ask me to be a lifestyle model. Most lifestyle models are still models. They are 5'10". They are, you know what I mean? But they wanted real looking people, and I had the best time. I had just literally basically was paid to vacation and put my feet in the sand. Not only that, the wardrobe people that were there that gave us all the different clothes to turn into, when I left, they're like, here, hundreds of dollars worth of free shoes and clothes and everything. Just take it.
Wow. That is so insane. What a story. Because like so often, what I love to hear is you're like, send me 50 coaching clients, or like this really hard way that I'm going to have to really, and the universe is like, no, girlfriend, we got you. We got you. Don't worry. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And that's
I didn't have to actually work for it. I mean, I did have to fly down to Mexico, but that was not work. Let me tell you something. This was not work. Yeah, and I remember being like, whoever says modeling is hard. Like, I just was like, It's not.
Wow. And I have to say, I'm like, I can totally see why they hired you. I always call you Malibu Barbie. So I can totally see why they hired you for that. But
again, like I didn't have my photos out there. I wasn't with a modeling agency. Random guy who just saw that there was a LinkedIn connection with someone at Primal Kitchen who he knew and remembered me going on a date with me 15 years ago. Probably got a good impression. There was nothing off there. It just wasn't a connection.
Right.
What
and
the
this
hell?
This is
by
why
the way, here's another LOA about that LOA. So I don't play tennis anymore regularly. Like I'm like once or twice a year because of my hands, right? But I always, just gratuitous, I always wanted a really cool shot of me playing a sport. Like I've got some photos of
cool.
me doing cool stuff, but I wanted like just
Yeah.
whatever for no reason. I was like in my life,
Yeah.
I was like that would be awesome. Me like
Love
doing
it.
a tennis serve or something. They had clay courts down there at the resort.
Nice.
Did a tennis shot. It is literally my ideal sports shot like I could have ever dreamed for. So like there were LOAs
gotta see it.
within the LOAs of
Wow.
this whole situation. And so I got another one while I was there. I finally got my free, mind you, didn't have to go schedule with a photographer to get
Right.
this shot that I just was like, oh yeah. And it's like me taking a
Wow.
serve, the sun, and it's clay courts, which is very, very rare. So it was just this magical thing. And those experiences just did keep increasing my faith.
Right.
And it's not that I
right.
don't get off track. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do become a shit magnet and I go in this direction. I go, nope. Damn it.
Yeah, wow. And what what I'm hearing from this that I love so much is that one, you're not being afraid to identify what you want, right? Like the big part of this, we're talking about intention on this one is like, you're like, I don't want to, of course I can dip into my savings and pay for all this stuff, but I don't want to. So can I have this instead? It's kind of like, it's like a loving parent. It's like,
Can you give me the money?
yeah, loving parent's going to be like, oh yeah, girl, how about this? And it's just so beautiful, but it took you recognizing what you wanted and asking, right? And like the tennis picture, what's so beautiful about it is that if you hadn't had like admitted the desire that you had, then you couldn't have recognized the magic of that moment, right? Like you would just been like, oh, cool, tennis picture. But you taking the time and like the heart energy and having the vibration of, I want this, how many times do we not allow ourselves to want things? What is up with that? Like it's like,
And it was an old want, meaning it wasn't like active, leading up to that. It was just something in my life, maybe years prior, where I was like, oh man, one day I'm going to get a cool sports shot like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but whatever. And that's what was really amazing about it, is that while we were there, I was like, oh my God, it's happening now. Like it's happening right here on this court.
so cool. So yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing from that is like, yeah, just ask and get on that. You are on the vibration of like, yeah, like,
and I spoke it. I said,
come in.
universe, I don't want to pay for this. I want I want new shit, but I don't want to pay for it. Now, granted, I paid for it. I got the money from that job and I paid part of it for that. But
Right.
but you know what I mean by that. I wanted some
Yeah.
new income out of nowhere that was going to add to pay for it, not take out of what I have. And I've done that a couple of times where my manifesting friends, Cassie Park and Ginny Gain, who do Manifest It Now podcast, we joke about it all the time. Just like, yeah, you know what? I don't pay for it. I want that, but I'm not paid for it. So universe, figure it out. And I just walk away and it shows up. But I have the faith that it will actually happen. And I was open to whatever way it could. What a better way that it came in that way versus, like you said, clients that you have to work hours for or whatever. And it gave me an experience. I got a vacation out of this thing.
Right. I know. And that I think I shared this on a previous episode, but I'll share for me, this house that I'm in right now. I had just gone through total life devastation. living in this basement apartment. I was so humbled. I called it my launch pad. I mean, it was a nice place, but I have 4 kids. It's not exactly, it's a 2-bedroom basement apartment. That's not going to work. And so because of that, my kids were with their dad like all week long during school. Normally we have them 50-50. And it was like, I'm working through shame. I'm like, it's okay. Like you're just going through a rough time right now. It's all good. But I wanted my kids back. I didn't want to do the situation where I only had them on weekends. Like I wanted my freaking family time back, And so, I was there for a year. I mean, that's a long time to not have your kids with you during the week. And it was tricky. It was also a blessing in a lot of ways because I got a lot of business built in that time. So I was grateful for that. I was grateful that my ex-husband is supportive and, took the brunt of the kid work during that time. But I got to this point and I was laying out in nature in my backyard and I was laying there and just looking at the breeze going through the trees. And I just asked, I was like, please, can I get my kids back sooner rather than later? And I had already been looking at houses over in the area where I'm at right now, which is by their school. And they were just gross. Like I was like, no. And I was going to have to buy like furnishings for all 4 of my kids and, the living areas and TVs. And like, I didn't have anything. The place I was staying in was furnished because of my crazy story before that. It was in another episode, I think one of our first or second, but I was like, man, how am I going to like get a nicer house and furnish the whole thing? Like, how am I going to do this? And the next day, I kid you not, the next day, this house pops up and it says in the notes, like, may need to leave some furniture. I'm like, jackpot. And it was like beautiful. I loved it. And so I call and
And they
I
had
go
just
over and I'm
lowered
like,
the
so
price, right? So you hadn't seen
the
it
old,
before because it didn't
that's
pop
right.
up in your search. I want to point that out
That's
too.
right. That's right. So divine timing, baby. Like it was like
Universe
the
orchestrated
universe
that
was
to
like,
happen.
exactly. The universe is like, just wait till they drop the price a little bit. They'll drop the price. So then I see it because it dropped into my price range and I come in and I'm like, actually, and it's nice furniture. I was like, I want all this furniture if that's cool. She's like, oh, they're going to be super excited about that because they're going on an LDS mission to Spain and they didn't want to have to move everything into storage because they're coming back here. And I just need a temporary thing. My kids walk to school every day. My daughter's best friend lives like 3 doors down. They have friends everywhere. It's like they ride their bikes to their dad's house. It's like the most perfect situation ever. And it came when I asked. I just asked. Sometimes we need to ask. We need to ask for help. And it's just so beautiful how the universe has our back when we're willing to do that and know and have faith that it will respond. It's just so.
It isn't
Me
asking
too.
you shall receive. Like there's a lot of tenets in the Bible and other scriptures of other religions that are a thoroughfare here. The other thing in a religion too that they will say though is that you need to believe it first before you see it, and that's the thing that people can't get over. Right? You had a level of some kind of faith there that it could show up, and you just said, you know what, damn it. And again, I agree with you. For me, every time I speak it, and maybe it's because we're talking to our subconscious and it's generating whatever. Maybe it is talking to them, but every time I'm like, yo, I need help here.
Yeah.
Right. I need my kids sooner than later. I want new stuff, but I don't want to pay for it. So figure it out and get back to me.
Right.
You make it like a fun game.
Exactly. Oh, and I was looking for like a 3 or 4 bedroom house. This one's 5 bedrooms, has a huge basement. Like it's like even better than I could have ever imagined. And
Usually
I feel like
it is, right? It's almost always better.
Yes, it's usually better. That's how I know I'm on the right path, honestly. When things just start getting better than I could have ever imagined.
Yes.
And every time that happens is because I asked.
Yeah, let's talk about some of those askings. So there's so many things that I do. Like, for example, you could always, to get yourself in the right vibration, because thoughts are things, you can wake up sometimes if I'm feeling a little off or I need a hit of positivity. I go to put on some affirmations for whatever it is that I'm, just could be health affirmations, just be gratitude. We have to talk about gratitude, right? So this is like such a key component of life, but also of law of attraction, because gratitude is feeling so grateful for something you have or haven't had yet, but it's going to generate more feelings of you being grateful for stuff instead, right? So it's now, if you are in Shitsville right now and you are at the bottom, then you're going to have to be basic and be like, I'm grateful I have my arms and legs. That's right. Or I'm grateful I'm breathing. Okay. Sometimes it comes down to brass tacks, right? During this epidemic, thank God I'm safe. Thank God thank you. The other thing too I'll go back to writing lists a little bit for a second, which is when you write something down, if you can put it like it's already happened, or you can start off the list with, I am so grateful now that I've published my book and it's a bestseller, or right, not in one day I will. So you write as it's already happened. My friend Cassie Parks does a thing which she calls scripting, where it's even more detailed, where you'd sit there and let's say you went on vacation to Hawaii. Then it might look like, I just woke up and I'm having my cup of coffee looking out onto the waves. I love it here. Okay, so it's in the present, or it's happened. So it's important to kind of phrase those things there in that direction, right? I'm so grateful now that, and whatever it is that hasn't even happened yet, that's a way to do it. I like to do little, I tell friends who are new to this that you always start small, and actually every teacher of law of attraction would tell you that. So you earlier were saying something like, well, let's say you want to manifest $1 million. Listen, if that is so unbelievable to you right now, then you have to start with what's believable. Well, maybe 70,000 because you're making 40 now. And maybe there's something in your mind that makes that more believable. Great. Start there. Then you'll get to 70. Once you're there, then you might have a different belief. So it is based on our beliefs. So people would be like, well, I've played the lottery for years. Like, why hasn't that happened? Because it's very difficult with those odds that we know with our human brains to get into the belief of it. The other side of that too is, as you may have heard, like 90% of lottery winners, they blow all their money and they screw it up. Why is that? Because they didn't do all the stuff we've been talking about, the work
Right.
before, the stories. They still have weird stories about money or guilt having money or something around
Yep.
it, so they lose it and falls through their fingers. So again, it's about what is your belief? Because the lottery winners lose all of it, where you would go, well, that's stupid. I would never do that. Well, but you know what? There's a reason it happens, is because they weren't vibrationally prepared for it or didn't do
That's
the work
right.
once they got it to be able to hold on to it, because they still had stories and limiting beliefs about money, so they lost
Right.
it. And the reason you haven't won the lottery now, I'm a contest winner, but here's the thing. It's usually because the odds are more believable to me. So if you enter me into a contest of like 300 people right now, I would bet you money I would win it. Because to me, it's like so believable that in those odds of 300, I would win. But you talk about the odds of millions and my belief starts to go down a bit, right? And
Right.
so again, it's what do you believe in? So you start small or start where your belief
Yeah.
is okay. It's okay. You might want the $1 million, but if it just seems so ridiculous to you, then start with like, all right, I want to double my income. Baby steps. The other thing too is manifesting things that are small. When my friend first started the law of attraction, he was like, I don't know, I just manifest a massage. I don't know, something how a massage comes in. And he literally just threw it out there like, whatever. And he was driving on the freeway in California at 11 o'clock at night. And he pulled over to get gas. And it was like there was some outdoor area where someone had a massage table. And he was like, this is unbelievable. Like, I've never driven the 5. 11 o'clock at
Amazing.
night, there's someone out there. And so he was like, okay, that's crazy. You can start small with just like,
Yeah.
don't start with the big stuff like getting rid of your debt or manifesting a new job. If your beliefs there are great, but sometimes in order to build the belief, just be small. Maybe it's like, you know what, you haven't heard from someone in a while? Maybe it's just manifest that they somehow reach out, or manifest like Justin Perry, who did it with, he's just like, okay, blue apple, like blue apples don't exist, right? No matter how much you visualize that, a literal blue apple you could eat ain't gonna come into reality, right? Just because you think of it. But he goes to, the reason he thought of that, because he'd see the image somewhere. He went to Bed Bath & Beyond, and there was a wall of like blue apples, and apparently the apples were something like some kind of storage container. But you can start
Wow.
with something dumb
Yeah.
like that. Like, I just want to see if this thing works, then show me this, and start with
Yeah.
something small that you know you're not going to see and manipulate it happening, and
Right.
watch and then you'll forget about it because you have no resistance to a blue apple. You
Yeah.
have no resistance to a cup of coffee, right? No one cares.
Right.
It'll show up, and that will
Yep.
be like, oh my God. You do that and you keep building the faith. So I'd say start small. The other thing is, yes, I've got vision boards. You can also, if you don't want to hang up one in your house, you get a sketchbook, like an artist sketchbook, and you tape stuff to the book. What I like to also do is I date it when I put it there so I can see when it happened. I do have a vision board. But again, you can look at it, but unless I'm looking at it and going through the things and feeling the feelings of having
Yeah.
those things,
Right.
sometimes it's a 1-minute iPhone timer, go in your closet, be quiet, and just maybe it's the one thing. You
Yep.
want a relationship, you want a new job, and you're feeling the feelings of what that's like.
Powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are little mini visualizations, feelingizations, because again, you can paste anything to a vision board. If you don't have the internal, emotional, vibrational wherewithal, those things will not manifest into reality.
That's right. Beautiful, wonderful tips on that one. Intention. So anything else that you can think of that you've learned through the years of law of attraction on intention? Because sometimes people come to me and they say like, I'm just kind of content. Like, I don't know. I'm not on this, like, I want something journey. Like, I don't even know where to start with that. That's a question I get because they can feel my passion and my vision and my building. And they're like, I don't have anything that sounds cool, but I don't have anything like that. And for me, what I always tell them is like, don't force it. Just wait, but just be open. Just be open. Like, notice when those tugs and those pulls start coming on your soul instead of just like shooing them away. Let them come. You might be in cruise mode right now. You might be in just enjoy. Sometimes the universe is like, enjoy. That's okay. But when those tugs and those pulls come in, take note and let it enter into your heart. Let it enter into your soul, into your mind, into your gut, right? And internalize those things, because that feeling, allowing that feeling to come in, that's when you start to be like, holy cow, I felt like I should start a brand with rainbows, and like everywhere I go, I keep seeing rainbows everywhere. That's when it starts to build. And then some epiphany comes in and somebody's like, I have cancer and I need healing and I have this rainbow company. And you're like, okay, hold on, what is going on here? Right. So that's kind of how it goes. So it's just like allowing the feelings and the tugs when they come, not trying to force them like, okay, I want to be a powerful manifester. Like, what can I do? Like that's forcing energy. Allow it to come in. It's
and you might need to manifest an experience that has to teach you a lesson for the betterment of you.
Yeah. Yep.
We're always attracting. So sometimes it's not the desire. Sometimes it's a not great experience, but you needed it to get to the next level to even become a better manifester. So again, we don't poo-poo the negative stuff that seemingly negative things that happen.
That's right. And sometimes those are years long. Sometimes they're years long.
Well, I told you about my car tow. Like my car getting towed, being broke, led me to Mark's Sisson. Like a horrible scenario. I'm crying. It's awful. I'm just like, I'm broke. And just it just completely led me to him. So, but it was a negative thing in the moment. It turned out to be, again, the thing that all my friends go, remember, car tow.
Yeah,
like,
exactly. Exactly. So beautiful.
I was thinking too. So, you can't. So, there's the thing. You got to be someone in line with things, right? So, if you would like to attract more positive friends, then don't be a downer piece of garbage human being, right? If you want to be abundant, then you probably shouldn't be stealing because that's showing a lack, and like there's a lack of, right? Okay, so yes, you might need to get a little bit straight with some integrity on some of these things. Doesn't mean though that you need to have an MFA in acting to. There are some people that, again, they defy what other people would think of the benchmarks that you need to accomplish before you get a thing. And then those are the people that go, that's so unfair. They have been working all these years. Like, no, it's not. It's totally fair. William and his vibe, that was totally fair. People have been trying to model for years. I get 6,000 grand doing nothing. I'm not even really a model. Yeah, because I'm playing in the law of attraction. And I think, too, it's important to understand this. Everyone's really like a pawn in the law of attraction game. And what you have to think about, too, is, look, I love it. It's Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks says this, too. She had a rant that I usually use for auditions and things like that, which is, hey, I'm just showing up being who I am. And you may not be the right fit for me, and that's okay, too. But I'm just going in this direction. It may seem like you have power over me. It may seem like you're producer of the control, but hey, it's all good. So again, it's just really just letting it flow a little bit. When we are in resistance, it is like paddling upstream. It doesn't feel good. I hate paddling against the wind. It sucks. And it's just harder. So it's like, do you want life to be speed bumps or brick walls? And law of attraction will let you have it be little nice bumps of lovely learning lessons that are for you versus, damn it, this shit keeps happening to me. Yep.
Exactly. Like, it's like, well, of course it's hard because you decided to paddle up a stream against the wind. You decided to do that.
That's right.
When you could have just turned around and gone the easy way.
And this is the easy way. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I shared this, I think, on an interview before, but I'll share it kind of in closing because I think it really encompasses this concept really well. And it was my friend. He's very shamanic, very intuitive guy. He's a healer and does that. That's what he does professionally. And he was reading the Surrender Experiment and he had a dream and he dreamt that he was floating down a river and he was just on his back, just completely peaceful, just floating down this river. And he observed on the sides of the river were all these people clinging to the side of the river because it was safe there. But they were stuck in all these sticks and branches and pokey things and plants. And it was just like they were totally miserable. And they were like, because they didn't want to get swept away down the river. And he was in pure bliss. And to me, that's what flow feels like. That's what surrender feels like. But it's scary to take that leap and lay back. But if once you do, it's all beauty, baby.
It's funny. I will actually bring up, so I am a stand-up paddler and I've been paddling since I was like 7 in general. So I'm really comfortable with oars, boats, and things like this. So when I started stand-up paddling though, I would take people out to stand-up paddle, friends who wanted to learn, so I would teach them. And here's the thing. This is so about the life and stream. Okay. So the only time people fall off the board is when they don't trust that the board has them. So what they do is, so your feet are parallel, right, when you're standing on a board. When they try to control it, meaning step one way or the other, the moment they step one way, boom, now they're off, because they don't realize they're not on a solid surface. They are on the water. But my stand-up paddleboard is like 11 foot, 6 foot inches. This thing can, I mean, I've wheelied this thing on a wave. Like, it'll carry you. You have to trust the board that it's, the moment you try to control it, the moment you try to, you're now against it, now you're off. Everyone falls off, and it's a mental thing. It's totally a mental thing. It's almost like if you could just force someone when teaching them paddling to just keep your legs like cement and do not move your feet, but they are on an uneven surface, right, that's underneath them. So again, they're trying to control it, and in that process they fall. And when you have the faith and you let it go, like, that board carries you. I trust my board. Like, it is a big life-saving device. It's a boat, essentially. And so I always laugh when I'm out on the water, because I was like, every time someone falls in, I'm like, it's such a life thing. It's such a life thing too.
Wow, that's such a perfect analogy. It's just having trust in it instead of you trying to control everything. That's really, I mean, I've definitely learned this, it's when I try to start controlling everything, I'm miserable and nothing is going right. As soon as I let that go and surrender and just listen, it's just listening. It's like, listen and do. So that's what it feels like. And I don't know if that's my higher self, or it's just what's obvious that I'm not wanting to accept, or if it's this law of attraction, if it's the universe, guys, whatever it is. If you just listen and trust and just do, your life just keeps getting exponentially better and better.
It does. I want to mention a couple books here at the end to look into. If it's regarding money, Cassie Parks has a great book called Manifest 10,000. And literally in 30 days, follow what she does and see what you bring in. I did it, and I brought in an extra $3,000. That was sort of out of nowhere. The other one is Shakti Gawain, Gawain. She's one of the originals. She wrote a book called Creative Visualization. And so I think, and we mentioned other books in the first episode too, part 1. But as far as visualization, creating a vision board, the feelingizations, there are also great guided meditations on YouTube. You could do a guided meditation for prosperity, and a woman is guiding you through it for it. Great. Like, if sitting there and meditating in the traditional sense isn't for you, then start with something like that. This stuff is free. The other person I want to mention, I've mentioned him before, but I did interview him, but his story is amazing, because he went from working on an assembly line and literally having a stuttering issue to being a multimillionaire, all through the law of attraction, only because he watched The Secret. His name's Justin Perry. Wow. He now has like a multimillion-dollar business, but he's got a platform called You Are Creators on YouTube. He's got tons of videos. He's got tons of like affirmation videos. You just play, hear his voice talking about things he's grateful for. This is all free for you to just kind of tap into the positivity. So those are some resources. And
can I just add too, one, Deepak Chopra's 21-day abundance meditation. That one is really good. That really helped me. And I just want to add too, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I know I'm doing law of attraction. I already do this. I already read all this, a bunch of stuff. Keep doing it. Like, no matter how, it's like professional development almost, because as you continue to partake, you just get little seeds for inspiration for yourself. Right. So it's like, for me, when I stopped doing professional development, well, I kind of stagnate. I'm kind of like 2 years behind on whatever I learned 2 years ago. I'm not adding new growth. And I look at it the same way as with my spiritual growth. It's like, look into, just provide opportunities, because it's not like I have to believe everything Deepak Chopra says, but something he may say can plant this little seed of inspiration where I'm like, and then I get to get further along my journey. So don't stop. That's the one last thing I'll say is like, don't ever stop. Keep providing opportunities for yourself. Sometimes you might be like, okay, I just need to flow. Like, I got it. I need to integrate these things, but come back and keep learning and growing, because all you're doing is providing an opportunity for you to get more inspiration from your higher self as you listen to others who are on the same path.
Perfect. It is because it's deliberate, and you and I are not also immune to falling off track. Nobody is, but it's about getting right back on. And I will say this, after 10 years into it, it's swifter and better and easier. I'm so much of a happier person. My mental state is almost constantly laughing and joking around. And stay in it, because you grow with it, get better and better at it, and realize new things about all of the aspects of it as you go by. I feel like my knowledge of it at first is so much different than it is now. And so, this is a continual learning program here. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, you can find us on kickasslifepodcast.com. Come find, because there you can see, you can watch us on YouTube, or you can listen on all of our listening platforms. And we love your guys' feedback as well, on future episode ideas. And please subscribe and rate our show, because it really helps us, especially while we're still new. And we just appreciate you guys. I appreciate your shares on social media and tagging and sharing with your friends. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode.